What up, what up, what up, football fans all over the world? It's your boy Mac the Giants fan, and I'm here with my guy, the super dope co-host, Adam Costas. Y'all know what time it is. It's time for the real deal NFC East round up. Punch that intro. What's going on? What's going on out there, everybody? Thanks for tuning in to another edition of the Real Deal NFC East Roundup with myself, Mac the Giants fan, and my guy, the super dope co-host, Adam Costas, man. What's going on, Philly B? Thanks for dropping them links in the chat, man. Hope you doing all right out there, bro. But
What is going on?
how you feeling today, Adam?
It is a beautiful day outside in the Northeast. Spring is finally here. We can put away the winter vibes, get out. I mean, my kid was running around the sprinkler the other day, so I am happy. I am go lucky, but I'm still pissed off about something. I'm sure we'll get into that in a few moments. How are you?
I'm great, man. I'm great, man. You got the NFL draft in the books. We're gonna talk about that for a little bit with y'all this afternoon,
Yes,
man, and just talk a
Zeke is
little
back with the
football,
Cowboys.
man, in general, man. New York Giants. What's going on, Daniel Barry, man? Thanks for dropping in, man. Appreciate you. Hope you're having a great day, bro. Yeah, we're gonna get into all of that, Dan. We're gonna get into all of that. We definitely gonna dig into all of those, get some thoughts on all of that stuff. I mean, since you here, and you brought it up already, though, we can start with the Cowboys. We can talk about the Cowboys a little bit, man. Dig in them a little bit. Texas, Dallas Cowboys, draft on Thursday over the past weekend. I mean, I don't know what to make of it for sure. I don't know, I'm not that familiar with a lot of the guys they picked up here, but first round they got a guy in Tyler Guyton, offensive tackle, big guy. Looks like he's potentially gonna fill in, fill in, and just fill a void that they had a little, and be another one of those potentially great offensive linemen the Cowboys seem to always manage to find. Man, how you think about
You know, I'm glad you brought the Cowboys up because, and we'll get to Zeke in a minute, which is an interesting pickup in my eyes. Kind of, actually, I think it's actually a good pickup for them, to be honest with you. But they draft Tyler Guyton after losing Tyron Smith. Instead of panicking like every other team does, or a team that I know that I follow panics, what do? They pick an offensive tackle who's going to plug in there and play. They know the trenches. If there's a team that knows, if there's like two or three teams, maybe four, in the NFL that know linemen. The Eagles, the Cowboys are one of them. The Ravens are one of them, and you could even say the Steelers are one of those teams where their lines are always kind of they spend high picks and those high picks come through. Remember that a few years ago they drafted the other Smith kid that they got out of Tulsa, and everyone's like, "Oh, what are they
yeah,
doing? How are they going to pick that guy? What is wrong with it?" And then all of a sudden he becomes an All Pro. Okay, so now they have this guy here. Um, Sorry, what was his name? His name is eluding me. Tyler Guyton. Okay,
Tyler Guyton?
out of Oklahoma, plays at a big school, can move inside to outside, but they'll probably put him at tackle, knowing that they have a tackle right there, right? That they need one. So it's a good fit for them, and he's going to probably come in and play and start right away, or at least be in the mix for competition, right? And then what do? In the second round, they get a defensive player. So they're addressing both the trenches with their first two picks, which, by the way, we didn't do any of that in any of our draft. So they are addressing places that they need. And here's the thing, right? Sometimes it gets redundant when you see the same players drafted because it's funny what the Cowboys do. They'll go out and trade for a wide receiver, but they'll bring homegrown talent on the D line and the O line, right? So they know where the homegrown talent comes from. So the Cowboys getting these lines, replenishing their lines. Well, guess what? Next year, if they decide to, maybe they trade, Lawrence, Dexter Lawrence, not Dexter Lawrence, excuse me, Demarcus Lawrence, or one of their key guys because they have a guy in the pipeline that could work out. right? And that's the same thing with the Fletcher Cox retiring. The Eagles had Jalen Carter come in, right? They already replenished the guy and brought him in so that when this guy comes in, or they got rid of him, or they cut him, or he moves on, you don't got to go finding and scraping and overspending money for talent. That's smart drafting. Ever since Jerry Jones kind of gave the reins to his son, you'd be getting drafts like this. And then, of course, they double dip in the third round with Cooper Beebe, who is a solid guard at Kansas State. He's 6'3", 322 pounds. So now they got a guy who can come in. And remember, they had Tyler Badiz like hold out last year. They're replenishing their line. They're replenishing the trenches. Where again, guys are getting older. Guys get injured. You need depth. When you have quality depth, you can make trades. Look what the Ravens did. The Ravens fleeced the Giants for Brett Bredesen back in the day. Right? He was coming up. He was drafted by them. 4th round pick. The Giants traded for him for another 4th round pick. And he was okay. Obviously, didn't develop well in our line, but he was okay. Right? And now he's going to play with the Saints. But my point is that these teams understand, like, hey, having too many of these guys is a good thing. We don't do that. We buy our guys. And then, of course, they have Maris Lufu. He's a linebacker slash, kind of edge rusher for them. And being that Leighton Vander Esch retired, they need to replenish somebody to come in there and do that. And I think he'll come in there and, kind of be a linebacker they need to run sideline to sideline. Really kind of, I don't know if he'll start, but 3rd round pick is a solid investment. So if he doesn't start, the guy in front of him might be a placeholder, and he comes in and learns. Now, Mike Zimmer loves those linebackers. Remember, he had Eric Kendricks in Minnesota when he was running his defenses. He also had Harrison Smith. He had Everson Griffin on the line. So you give him this Cowboy team, you start to replenish his line. I think the Cowboys are going to get good because even though they lost their defensive coordinator, they still have another good defensive coordinator, Mike Zimmer, coming by. So I think he'll be here. And then they got Keelan Carson. He's a corner out of Wake Forest, adding more depth there, obviously. Ryan Flaherty, a wide receiver, Missouri State, another depth player. And then, of course, they dip back into the line again with Nathan Thomas with their 7th round pick out of Louisiana Lafayette. A lot of picks, as you can see, smart. Obviously, the Cowboys did have a 4th round pick. They had 2/3. They had 1 first, 1 second, 2/3, no 4th, a 5th, a 6th, and a 7th. So, and in those picks, in those first 4 picks, they address both offense and defensive lines, or the defensive front 7 and the offensive line in the first 2 bits. Nothing sexy. They didn't get a receiver until the 5th round, folks. In a deep receiver draft. They didn't get, the deep receiver draft, they didn't go until the 6th round. Now, I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but if you look at their roster, they have CeeDee Lamb, they have Michael Gallup, they have Brandon Cooks, they have guys already, they have Tolbert they drafted. They have guys already in the pipeline. I know, by the way, if they need to make a move, they'll go get a receiver if they need to. That's just what the Cowboys do. I think they had a solid draft to fill out some of their depth and flesh it out. The last thing I will say is I think Zeke Elliott also is a draft pick. He'll come in with this class as well and help them. They need a back. I think that's what they lacked last year was a power back. Tony Pollard couldn't handle the load. He just was not big enough physically to do that. And when you pound a guy like that, you lose some of your element. I think that's what happened to them last year in certain games when they had the lead. They could not slow the game down, right, against Green Bay. They're doing a lot of 3 and outs, right? Like as much as you want to pass the ball with your quarterback throwing 4,500 yards, you also put yourself in a precarious position when you do that if you don't convert on some of these things. While a run, you may only convert a yard, 2 yards, or you're draining clock. It can work in your detriment sometimes, but also can work in your benefit because allow your team to rest a little bit, take some time off the clock, and allow you to control the pace. A good running game allows you to control the pace of a game, people. It's not necessarily about running down their throats. The Eagles did it, their Super Bowl run, when they tried to run the football on first down to get at least 5 yards. Once they got 5 yards, you couldn't stop them. Anything beyond 5 yards, like 6, 7, 8, 9, they were a little easier to defend. That's reason is because when you get 5 yards a clip, you have all your playbook open. So I think this will help the Cowboys. We'll see how much tread is left on the tire for Ezekiel Elliott. He'll be familiar with the facility. Offense is not going to change much. He knows that offense. I think he was there with Mike McCarthy, so it's not like he's going to have to familiarize himself. And let's be real, he had a solid year in New England. You know, it wasn't anything to write home about, but you know, you go where you go, right? Where the money is. And what I learned last year, running backs do matter, people. We may not want to pay them, but running backs do matter. And if you have a good one, it could change the whole dynamic of your football team. I mean, the running back matters so much that the Rams, we've got another one. You know, they went and got Blake Corum, and they already have a Tyler Williams, I think, in the backfield. So, I mean, Ezekiel didn't have that great of a year with 3.5 yards per carry, right? 184 attempts and then 51 receptions. That's kind of it looks like he had a lot of passes out of the backfield. So he still can catch the ball for you. I think he'll do a lot more of that with the Cowboys. And he's still solid. He's 28 years old. And if he loses some weight, maybe he'll be good. But anyways, I'm done talking about the Cowboys and their draft. Any other thoughts, Mac?
I mean, yeah, you said it all. I mean, that just a pickup for the Cowboys, just to bring somebody, a familiar face back in, put a veteran guy back in that running back room. I don't think you can expect Zeke to be the Zeke that of old. Obviously, you can't.
No.
That Zeke is gone. I mean, this is his last hurrah for the most part. Like you said, just a year that's he's a year that Zeke and Elliott fans probably won't remember much of from last year in New England. I mean, but that offense was absolutely atrocious. I mean, that was one of the worst. I mean, and I'm speaking as a Giants fan that the New England Patriots offense was absolutely like we thought our offense was bad. That offense was even worse.
And our running back did make 1,000 yards. He's a lot better right now than Ezekiel Elliott at this moment. So you could see the difficulties.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely, man. But Cowboys overall solid draft. Looks like they picked up some pieces.
It's a smart
they
draft.
needed to do. Yeah. That's what good teams can do. You set yourself up, like you said, to be a good team and good roster. You can have drafts like this where you can, I don't want to say take chances on guys, but you can really, really just kind of zero in on your team needs. You don't have to you're not going out there necessarily best player availables and all that shit. You address the needs of your football team and continue to just build the depth up. And it's like that's what they did successfully in this draft, man. Adding players at some positions in which they had a few holes, man. So we'll see how this thing turns out for the Dallas Cowboys, man.
Always turns out
forward,
well.
but
Teams like that, though.
Absolutely does. But let's go to the nation's capital, man. How about we swing over to the nation's capital, man? Because with the number 2 overall pick in the draft, they potentially, we don't know for sure, obviously, because we don't know how it's all going to work out before these guys step on the field and play at NFL down. But they've added potentially the quarterback of the future, a potential franchise guy, in Jaden Daniels. Number 2, they had a glaring need, and they went out there and they addressed that need. They didn't they didn't overthink it. They didn't hesitate. There were issues leading up into the draft. Whatever it was, whoever it was, Jaden Daniels, whether it was the agent, whether it was him, having concerns with Washington and whatnot. They still didn't waver. They still made the pick. And they got their guy in there in the first round, and Jaden Daniels coming to the nation's capital, man. And they had to put together a pretty solid draft as well, the Washington Commanders. Adam, what was your thoughts?
Well, I'm going to go. This draft for them was an A+ because they landed their franchise guy. Okay, whether we like it or not, they landed their franchise guy, and that's why no matter what they do from here on out, it's an A to start. Now, I don't like really giving draft grades, even though I just gave one right there. My point is, you probably won't know in a few years how he'd be, but at least the start of it, you got your guy. Okay, the guy that ran up the board, the guy had 11,000 yards rushing last year and 10 touchdowns. Okay, not to mention 3,800 yards passing. As well, and won the Heisman Trophy.
He had 1,100 yards rushing, not 11,000. 1,100.
Sorry. Right. I put an extra 0 on there for him. The way he played, it looked like 11,000. You know what I mean? Anyways, sorry about that, folks. Max got me laughing. My thoughts process is reeling. But my point is that he's a dynamic player and he changes their offense instantaneously just by him being on the field. And let me tell you, they're gonna frame it as, oh, Marcus Mariota, that guy is going to start at some point, whether it's week 1, week 2, week 3. It's going to be sooner rather than later. That's how dynamic of a player he is. Look for him in the Rookie of the Year conversation as well. I think when you bring in a guy like this, you're setting the tone of your culture, of your team. New ownership, new coaches, new quarterback, new direction. That's where they're going. They no gone are the days of the Tyler Heineke's and all this craps, right? Yeah, they got a coach. They haven't had a quarterback since Kirk Cousins left. Okay, and that guy's now in Atlanta and he's bounced around a couple teams. It's been what 9, 10 years almost since they had a draft this high in the quarterback. Remember, they drafted number 2 another guy named Robert Griffin III. If they don't do Jaden Daniels dirty like they did Robert Griffin III, they could have this guy for a long time. He needs to refine a little bit more of his passing, a little bit more passing on the run. He's gonna probably come out the gate like Lamar Jackson a little bit, where he's gonna run because shit's crowding him, and he's gonna be more dynamic with his legs. So be patient with that. By the way, we can use that here for Washington because they know what they're in store for them next season. And by the way, I hate the fact that he's in our division. It's bad enough that he got drafted number 2, but he got drafted number 2 to the Commanders. So good job for you, Commanders. Way to go on that. As far as your number 2 pick, sorry, let me I have a couple lists of guys in here for them. So they took another tackle, a defensive tackle. Jerry Zine Newton is his name. Obviously, they're replenishing that defensive line, getting guys behind him. Jonathan Allen and Deron Payne, while both are good, both are old, and kind of wore down during the season because they had nobody really to come in and give them the necessary reps to get it, be fresh throughout the year. And I think that was a problem for those guys last year, is that when you relied heavily on the defensive interior and all the teams know it, and you got to stop the run, plus then go rush the passer, plus you're getting hit by 300-pound guys on every play, it really does wear you out. So for them to have be able to get this guy in here and put a premium position in the place is pretty good. So that was one of their picks. The next pick that they picked was Mike Senariltis. I can't pronounce his name. He's from Michigan, cornerback, one of the best slot corners in the game. As you know, the Commanders have had secondary problems. They're getting younger. They just drafted Emmanuel Forbes last year. They take another second-round pick this year. You know that Dan Quinn loves his corners, loves his nickel corners. He's going to do a lot of pressure, and he's going to need to place a man in the back end as well because he's going to bring that blitz. Okay, so they've got some decent players over there on that Washington Commanders side of the football. I mean, I know we laugh at the Commanders; they lose to the Giants every week or whatever the case may be. But this is a different one. This is a different team. They're not going to be incompetent this year. They're not going to be the same Washington Commanders. They have Dan Quinn, whether you like him or not. He's a competent head coach that can keep things going. So that's their third down back. Let's keep it going here. They had three second-round picks. This is what I'm talking about, Joe Shane. They got 3 second-round picks in a heavy draft. And you know who they drafted? Another weapon for their quarterback, Ben Sinnott from Kansas State, a tight end who I was tracking. Hopefully the Giants would have gotten him. They did not. 6'4", 250 pounds, can block, can catch. He's caught 82 passes for 1,100 yards and 10 touchdowns, over his career. Okay, and he blew up the combine. He's coming into his own. He's going to be a weapon for this team who already has Logan Thomas on their squad. So now you go with Logan Thomas to Ben Sinnott. This is what I'm talking about when I talk about a smart roster. This team is becoming smarter. They picked good players where they needed to pick them, and they picked smart players, and they have guys that they can probably rely on for the next few years. Okay, so this is why I just want you to keep understanding what we're doing here. Okay, because to me, the Commanders might have just jumped the Giants in terms of trajectory, and what I mean by that is just for the simple fact of they got their quarterback, and I'm sure they won't. We'll get to another pick in a little bit because they did something very interesting as well, that probably will remind people of 2012. So Benson, good tight end, like him a lot. Think he's going to be a good player for them. Washington Commanders again. Now they go with the trenches again. 300-pound Brandon Coleman out of TCU, 6'3", 313 pounds. He's played right tackle. I'm sure he'll be moved inside and outside. He can be a swing tackle for them. He's as a 3-year starter, which means he has a lot of football experience. 723 snaps. He allowed just 1 sack. That's a lot of stuff. He was a Big Ten Offensive Lineman of the Year. Like this is smart football drafting. And then they dip in another 3rd-round pick. They go with Luke McCaffrey, a wide receiver again in this draft who comes out of Rice, who is a McCaffrey brother, 6'2", 198 pounds. Last year, had 71 catches for 992 yards and 13 touchdowns. Okay, this receiving core that has Terry McLaurin, that has Jahan Dotson, that had Curtis Samuels, now gets another guy who has very much a lot of production. Am I thinking he was going to get 71 catches for 992 yards? No. But the point is, you surrounded your young quarterback with 2 weapons already, an offensive lineman, and then you replenish the trenches. And that's only in the first 5 picks. We haven't even got to round 4. Okay, or round 4 or 5. We're still in the 3rd round, right? Of course, they don't have a 4th-round pick. But my point is, we haven't even gotten there yet. Then the Commanders took Temple linebacker Jordan McGee. Now, what Mac was telling you about, now is the time to take the chances on these flyers for these guys. 6'1", 228 pounds out of Temple. Had 14 tackles for loss, 80 tackles, 3.5 sacks. He's kind of that hybrid kind of linebacker type where he will, if you think of Dayon Buchanan, if you remember who he was, that jack of all trades. Basically, think of the money backer as, if you're an old school kind of guy, as the strong safety, so to speak, in a regular 4-3 defense. That's what the strong safety has evolved into. The money backer. These linebackers are coming out 228-something pounds, can hit like a ton of bricks, but let's be honest, they still can't take on guards and linemen that are 100 pounds bigger than them. So this is not a move or shake linebacker. This is probably a special teamer to start with, a guy who goes sideline to sideline. And Temple does produce some good players, so we'll see what they can do there. And then they had in round 5 again, they drafted Dominic Hampton, a safety. Again, they've had such a list of things they needed to get, and their laundry list was big because they made trades, and they're hitting everything. 6'2", 215 pounds. He's played 6 seasons with the Huskies, which means he has a lot of football. He had 151 tackles, and he was an honorable All Pac-12 mention, which means he's a solid player. Again, another depth piece. And then they have Jean Baptiste, defensive end out of Notre Dame. Probably to bolster that depth on their line. He's a guy you can put back there and kind of groom into the line and let him fill out a little bit. There's not going to be any pressure on him. And he comes out of Notre Dame, 6'5", 239, almost 240. So he's going to be a guy, to me, that again, you can put back there, be on special teams. You can let him learn the defense. And hopefully he'll contribute for you down the road at some point in some capacity. Because remember, the 4th pick through the 7th pick aren't normally your starters. They're the guys you want, because the NFL doesn't have a minor league. They're the guys you try to stash in your roster who you hope to get game reps, and then hopefully they're good enough to replace the guy in front of you or give you adequate play that if your guy in front of you needs more money, decides to ask for a trade or is injured, you have a guy that comes in there and is solid. And I think what you're seeing with the last 2 teams we talked about, they filling out their depth charts as well as just their roster. With all these picks between the Cowboys and the Commanders, they filled in a lot of needs in these back end holes. Will these guys amount to nothing? Who knows? But they have bodies there. They have invested a 7th-round pick, which means there was some type of resource or allocation there. And who knows who gets bumped off the roster? But just a good start to me for the Commanders in their new regime.
What's going on, man, in the chat, man? We'll say what's up to my guys. No Mets, no Nets, no Jets popping in, man. Always a big time supporter. Appreciate the love, man. And Wales to New Jersey, man. Salute to you too, Wales, man. Appreciate you, my brother. Appreciate you stopping in, showing some love. Make sure y'all go and support my guy Wales, man. Sub up to his channel, man. Doing
Wells,
some
how
good
are
things
you?
over there, covering
Oh,
combat sports and all
and the
kinds
one
of
thing I
other
wanted to
stuff,
mention about the
man.
Washington Commanders, sorry to cut you off, they also signed Sam Hartman from Notre Dame. So think of it as they got their raw G3, and now they got their Kirk Cousins as well. So they're doing smart things. They got Tyler Badiz as their center, right? They have Mason Brooks. They have you know Julian Good Jones. They have Cornelius Lucas. They have Chris Paul, the guard that's there. They have Trent Scott. And they just got their Brandon Coleman as their tackle. So they've got a lot of players in here. Let's defensively. They have Jonathan Allen, Dorrance Armstrong, Killen Farrell, Dante Fowler came over. So he's going to add some pass rush to that team. They got John Baptiste at the end. He's going to add some depth to that. They have Andre Jones Jr., who's been around, right? Deron Payne is still here. Joshua Pryor. So they're going to have some guys. And then if you look at their linebacking core, they have Jamon Davis, right? They also got Frank Luvo, who could also be a pass rushing linebacker, but also an outside linebacker. They also got Bobby Wagner in their defense, who's played with Dan Quinn and is going to be the field general out there. So don't think this team is going to be a slouch to come in, right? And then you look at their secondary. They have Emmanuel Forbes, like we just talked about. They just signed Dominic Hampton. They also got Tyler Owens that we spoke about, and then Mike Senatiros. I'm pronouncing his name shittily. Let me see if they have the phonetic version. Of course they don't. It's Miki Sen Rai Still. Maki Sen Rasil, right? So he was good for that defense in Michigan. I think you're getting a lot. I think this year, if you're a Commander fan, you got to be happy. You got Zach Ertz, you have Ben Sinnott, you have your receivers. You got Dami Brown, you got Luke McCaffrey. You know what I mean? You have Terry, still scary Terry. You still have Jahan Dotson. I mean, you got some decent receivers to get the ball to. Your running back, you signed Austin Eckler. You have Brian Robinson Jr. Some compliments. So I'm not saying they're a great team, but I think they did a lot of smart things this year.
Yeah, they did. I mean, I really do like what they did in this draft class. Looks like they're really setting themselves up for some great things. I mean, I don't know if they've quite leapfrogged the Giants yet. At the end of the day, I don't know what we're even really talking about with that anyway. We're talking about third and fourth best teams in this division. So that's really, really, I mean, at that point, does that really matter anyway? But
It
at
does, Mac.
the end
It
of the,
does. They play a
at
powder
the
puff
end of the
schedule.
day, we will see. We'll see what happens with these football teams, man, when they meet. But Washington Commanders did a great job. I think the draft was a success for them. Just getting that guy right at the top in the draft, Jaden Daniels, right there. I mean, the kid looks like he's poised to be an absolute superstar. So we'll see how it pans out for him, man. I mean, it's a new day in Washington. The stink of Daniel Snyder's now 2 years removed.
They're
They're
black.
just moving on to bigger and better things, man.
You know
Maybe.
what's you know what's funny, Mac?
Go ahead.
Their black cloud was the owner. Our black cloud is a quarterback. So you see, there already is hope for the Commanders because they got rid of their black cloud. Maybe if the Giants decided to move away from their black cloud, they've have hope.
We will find out. We'll see, man. We'll see. Hopefully, we'll get what they will. But you know what? We're
I
gonna
don't
save
believe the
those guys
Cowboys
for
have
last because
regressed.
I think we're just
What
gonna.
what what has the Cowboys done to regress? I mean, they basically stood pat with their free agency. They didn't do anything bad or they didn't do anything great, right? They've done some things. They're still the same team as last year that beat the brakes off of us, right? And they still have those same kind of. They're gearing up for like a Super Bowl run, and we're sitting here. What our expectations are? Low expectations for the Giants. We'll get into them in a minute because I have a bone to pick with a few people on that end. So they haven't had it. Not one likes. No one likes their draft. Yeah, no one liked their draft a few years ago when they drafted that kid out of Tulsa, right? And he ends up being their starting guard. So you know, the Cowboys. Experts cannot like their draft. The Cowboys know what they look for and what they're doing. I mean, that's just the nature of the beast. Everybody loves our draft, yet we're still 6-11. Nobody loves their draft for the last 2 seasons, and that team's fucking in the playoffs back-to-back years. So, don't like their draft for whatever reason. Fine. I want to find out what they're doing, what their elixir is, because they seem to be doing something better than we are.
I mean, I think people are just have been, people take shots at their draft because, like I said, the Cowboys are a team that they can go out there and kind of really just focus on the Cowboys and their needs. They're not necessarily going after the sexy picks. They're not going after. They're going for what they need, and they definitely do a good job of doing that, man. So, like you said, their players, a lot of them pan out. It just is what it is, and. But you know what? Let's move on to the other heavyweights of the division, man. Let's stop there. We're gonna save them boys and blues for last, man. We're gonna save them for last. But let's move on to these guys here, man. These Philadelphia Eagles, because like I said, I really hate this football team because they just do the kind of things they do, the kind of things they did last week in the draft. How are you the Philadelphia Eagles, a team in which picking late in the first round of the goddamn late in the first round, come away with one of the top 3 corners in the draft. But then no, wait, there's more. We get to the next damn night, Friday night. Here are the Eagles again in the second round, also getting another one of the top 3 corners in the damn draft with their first 2 picks. This is a football team that absolutely drives me crazy with the things they seem to be able to accomplish and the way they build this football team and the talent that they are able to acquire. It's just absolutely crazy to me. But this is the Philadelphia Eagles. This is what we are. This is where we are right now. The Eagles, once again, just doing amazing things and adding looks like a lot of great pieces to this football team, man. Adam, man, go ahead and talk about it, bro.
Mac, I couldn't have prefaced it any better, right? The Eagles, it's called the rich get richer. They had a problem. They didn't go out and spend major money on it. They've already addressed it with Eli Ricks last year from Green Bay, from Georgia, and now they get the best corner in the draft. Not only did they get the best corner in the draft, like you said, and we can get into him in a minute. His name is let me get his name for you. Toledo's Kenyon Mitchell. Okay, and as you guys know, he was. They stayed pat. They didn't do anything, and they got one of the best corners to fall to them. They read the board. They know what they're doing. And to me, we'll find out how good he is. But think about this: if he wins the starting job, great. If he doesn't win the starting job, and they use James Bradbury, he's still going to play, right? The Eagles know they don't have to start him right away, just like they did last year with Jalen Carter. They didn't need to start him right away. They let you be a rookie. They let you experience the NFL, get playing time. You're going to play major minutes, but you may not be quote unquote a starter because we don't need that for you. So go out there and play free, play loose, play fast, and we'll come and get you later. So they get that. They already had a problem with corner last year. I'm not sure if they I don't think they brought Darius Slade back. I could be wrong. They also know that what's his face? Bradbury is also on his last legs. So Darius Slade is still on the team as well. So he's on his he could still be their starting corner. I know he was injured, but we'll see what happens this year. Again. So now you got your 2 older corners with some young guys on that roster. It's a good start for them. And then to get Cooper DeJean. Okay, guy's been injured. Probably that's the reason why he slipped. But you got Cooper DeJean, and I'm not talking about the mustard folks. I'm talking about the corner. He's going to be good. And this is the thing. They keep building defense, and they're good. So everyone keeps telling me, we're going to catch up with them. Not if they have Howie Roseman continuously drafting good players. And you know what they do? They get rid of players when they need to. They don't just hang on their hat. You stink, you're out of here. You're good, we bring you in. I'm just saying. And then they're drafting. The guy drafts gems all over the field. This team has been good for years. And let's see, Howie Roseman's not that old. He's going to be here for a while, right? They re-geared up on offense. They got a new offensive coordinator, new defensive coordinator, okay? And they're bringing in a lot more talent on both sides of the football. When Vic Fangio, he loves those big-ass corners. He's going to like to play a lot of man, a lot of a lot of zone blitzing, so he can come down there. Remember, he was Robert Saleh before Robert Saleh, right? In San Francisco. He helped build that defense. Robert Saleh then took it over when he went to Denver. Then obviously Robert Saleh got a job. He went to the Jets. D'Amico Ryans took over, and ipso facto, here we are. Right? He also was Vic Fangio on their staff for the Super Bowl. So this team constantly gets better. No, wait, there's more. There's more. Cooper DeJean, right, who they lost Cedar Gardner-Johnson. Well, guess what? You just put him in there, and there you go. Now you have two of your young guys. And then they got an edge rusher, Jalen Hunt, out of Houston Christian University. Now, again, the Eagles are a good team. They can afford to draft somebody out of a Houston Christian University, HCU. Okay, they can do that. Knowing him, I guarantee you, he's probably going to end up being the next Hassan Reddick. Right? So I'm not saying he's going to be a starter. Don't take that the wrong way, people. Every time I say, somebody said it best on Twitter, I think it was NYG. Give me credit to NYG. People say, when guys compare players, right, we always look at that player's career and think, like if I compare Lawrence Taylor to Micah Parsons, people go, don't talk about him in the same light. What you need to do is listen to the story. How are they comparing? Are they comparing their traits? Okay, that's one thing. Are we saying he's going to beat Lawrence Taylor? No. And if they are saying that, you're stupid because he's a unicorn of all unicorns. So there's that. But I just wanted to get that through conveyed. Then it wasn't bad enough that they got Saquon Barkley from the team, but they took a Clemson running back, Will Shipley. Okay, a third down back, very productive. Knowing him, he's going to be productive for the Eagles. Okay, he's coming off an knee injury. He's been cleared. He's not the greatest guy, but for what they need to do and adding to the running back mix, he's a guy who can develop, maybe return some kicks for you. Third down back, Will Shipley. They give him a C+ grade here, but, who knows. Then they went with Aeneas Smith out of Texas A&M. They lost a couple players, Quez Watkins and Alamedi, so this is probably more of a depth signing. Again, he doesn't have to play because they have Devontae Smith, they have Dallas Goedert, they have all of these players in front of him, so he can come in and develop, play special teams, maybe just be a contributor like that. However, here's a funny one. He returns home. The prodigal son, Jeremiah Trotter Jr., returns to the team that made his dad famous, the Philadelphia Eagles. If he's anything like his father, he's going to bring a big personality and a lot of hard hitting. Jeremiah Trotter was a thorn in the side for many Giant fans. I'm sure Matt can attest to it. He was a guy that just was old school, knock your socks off. I think this is going to be a guy here where he'll get some time with some special teams. He'll get in some games. I don't think he'll be a starter. I think this is more kind of to fill out the roster a little bit. They have Nakobe Dean here, getting Jeremiah Trotter in here, being nostalgic. I think he went to the right team, and we'll see. Remember, he was a pretty good player for Clemson, and he didn't have to start right away. CBS gave them an A+ for this draft, so A+ for this pick. So
he's probably more like a guy to come in and be a factor on special teams. That'll probably where he can probably make a name for himself if he's even going to make the roster.
And Nakobe Dean has the privilege to stay healthy, so you have a backup for that guy in case he gets injured, right? Then they go again. This may be a 5th round pick, but it's the Philadelphia Eagles, so you may want to keep your eyes on the prize. Trevor Keegan from that Michigan national title team, drafted until the 3rd day in the 5th round. He's a solid player. He was with Jeff Stoutland. He'll be a project, but you know how those projects work for that team. With Jeff Stoutland as your guy to develop there, I'm sure they'll trade their starting guard at some point and he'll come right in. So another depth, smart move, solid player from a good school. Then they got Johnny Wilson, who was pretty good for Florida State, actually. Big player. 6'6", 231 pounds, 4.52. They probably might kick him inside to some type of move tight end. But again, another playmaker for this team. That's all they get around here. And by the way, a B+ for that grade. Then North Carolina State University, Dalen McMahon, a center. Again, trenches. You know why? Because they have multiple draft picks. Here's why teams like the Eagles, the Commanders, and the Cowboys are going to be good. because they have 11 draft picks. And if you have your draft class hits, which would be a good draft class, which is 50%. If you have 12 picks and 50% of them hit, that's 6 guys on your team, hopefully that you have for the next few years, right? Meanwhile, other team that we will speak about only has 6 picks. So if half of those go, you only get 3. And last I checked, 6 is greater than 3. So then you lose depth across the board somewhere because you don't have the same amount of guys. And what it also does is allow you to retool, get depth, more competition, more eyes, more bodies, guys in your pipeline. That if you have, a player that you thought was going to be good, hey, we don't have to wait on him anymore. We have a new guy in here who's beating him out. So look for McMahon to kind of ease his way in there, be a backup to Landon Dickerson, maybe play some guard, maybe take over for Landon Dickerson and move Landon Dickerson back over to guard if he decides to come up through the ranks pretty quickly. I know they like Dickerson at guard. He was a Pro Bowler there. They're grooming him for Jason Kelsey's role. So, and that's it. They end in round 6. So they had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 draft picks. 9 draft picks, and they basically went, and their biggest need was corner. They filled out those 2 in the first 2. They got an edge rusher for depth in the 3rd round who's probably going to contribute with Nolan Smith and those guys. They know how to rotate those guys in. So they'll probably be in the mix. They got Will Shipley, a 4th-round pick, a higher investment in a running back nonetheless, so he'll probably contribute some. So they're going to be – this team is like I said, like the Cowboys. They just are smart. They're smart with it. They just continue to keep building. And this is what I mean. They also got C.J. Gardner-Johnson back. This is what I'm saying. Look at this team. This is why this team right now, in my eyes, in May 1st, they're the leader for the division. Hands down, bar none, leader for the division because of what they've done in free agency and the draft. And if these players do hit, which I do think the 2 corners will play a lot more than the rest of the draft picks, boy, oh boy, man, the sky is going to be the limit. This is what I mean by a team being a thorn in your side for years. The way they're building, this team ain't going anywhere. Sorry to tell you that. It's not.
You just took the words out of my mouth. I was literally going to say like that exact same thing, basically. I was going to say exactly what you just said. Like the way this roster set up, the way the players they have under contract right now, when do you foresee this team falling off a cliff? It doesn't look like anytime soon. This seems like they are built for sustained success, man. Like they're gonna be a problem for some years to come, man. I mean, if they can put some things together, this is a football team that should definitely be getting some more trophies. I mean, in that trophy case, man. You feel like this team is just way too good not to win a Super Bowl or 2 along the way here. Because it's just ridiculous what they're doing. I mean, Alex said it best up here, man. Shout out to Alex, man. Big Blue in the Bronx. Make sure y'all go and sub up over there to Big Blue in the Bronx, man. Doing great things on that channel, man. Tremendous things, covering all kinds of sports in the New York area. Baseball, football, basketball, you name it, they doing it over there, man. Big Blue in the Bronx. Make sure y'all go sub up to my guy Alex and his brother and all their homies over there doing big things, man. But he said the best right here. People hate Roseman for certain shit, but he has built a solid foundation with this football team, man, and they're gonna be tough to handle, man. Yeah, they're just going to be tough to handle for a very, very long time. I mean, they are. You look at them on the offensive side of the board, they could have easily just went all defense in this draft, to be quite frank, because they had no real glaring needs on the offensive side of the football. And yet they still address some things anyway, because that's what good teams do. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, they went into this draft. They took care of some big-time needs on the defensive side of the football. And at least it looks great on paper right now. You never know how it's going to translate onto the field yet right away because none of us are psychic. But at the end of the day, they did some things that look really, really good, and they definitely addressed their needs. They had big-time problems on the defensive side of the football season ago, and it looks like they've done some things to maybe change that. So,
well, the one last thing I'll say about
exactly.
This
so,
one last thing I'll say before they go is the 2 things that killed them last year was they didn't have a running game. okay, to sustain drives, right? A proper running. And they ran DeAndre Swift, but for some reason their philosophy was we're going to pass it 40 times a game. We don't really care. With Saquon Barkley, that changes. So you might be able to you might see a different offense that way. And then defensively, they needed corners, right? And they have three corners who are still good: James Bradbury, Darius Slade, and C.J. Gardner-Johnson. But now you bring in these other young guys who can now either make those guys expendable, whether a trade or cut, or if they go down with injury, you have young guys in there, and hopefully your defense doesn't fall off, right? So, and you're replenishing the line as well. They did a lot in free agency. I know that they lost guys, but they still have Sweat over there on that team. They still have Brandon Graham. They still have Nolan Smith that they got. So they got some pass rush. I think they'll be a solid team. But like you said, Mac, the foundation is so solid that they've been doing that. They've been doing this for as long as I can remember. They have a down year and then they bounce back, right? They had a down year in 2016, 2015, like Chip Kelly end of an era, that type of years. They go get Carson Wentz. The next year they are in the Super Bowl, right? And then they fall off a couple of years, and then guess what? They find Jalen Hurts, and in 2 years they're in the Super Bowl. Like that's what they do because they're solid. Their foundation is good, and they make smart decisions, and they let their GMs make mistakes, and then, oops, well, let's fix this mistake. Let's not let it linger. So another year of the Eagles being good is just what the doctor ordered, right?
Yep, exactly. But let's go. Let's get to these guys, man. That's what people are here for, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna get to these guys right here. New York Football Giants.
Oh, sorry.
With the number 6 overall pick. The number 6 overall pick in the NFL 2024 NFL draft. The New York Giants select Malik Neighbors, wide receiver out of LSU. Is that a great pick? It absolutely is a great pick. I mean, he's a great player, phenomenal talent. I'm not mad at Malik Neighbors. I'm not mad at the fact that we have a guy of Malik Neighbors' caliber on this roster. But clearly, there was a glaring need. I think a more glaring need that should have been addressed. And we saw how aggressively that need was addressed for many other teams in this first round on Thursday night as a record 6 quarterbacks came off the board in the first 12 picks. And unfortunately, at number 6, the New York Giants did not take any of them. And we got Malik Neighbors, but unfortunately, the problem is we got Daniel Jones is the quarterback still, and I don't believe he's going to be able to get to maximize the talent of Malik Neighbors. I just really believe that's what's going to be a problem. I'm sorry I feel that way. If you call me negative if you want to, but the reality is what I've seen from Daniel Jones is I don't think he's going to maximize the talent of Malik Neighbors. I don't think he's going to get the most out of this kid. Maybe he can prove me wrong. I don't know. At this point, I got to wait and see. I got to hope he can. As a Giants fan that I am, I got to hope he can prove me wrong. But he hasn't shown me anything that makes me think that he will prove me wrong. Malik.
Well, Vegas doesn't even think you're wrong either.
might have misconstrued the way I felt on draft night. That night, I didn't. I might have seemed a little upset when they picked Malik Neighbors, but it's not because I don't believe in the talent of Malik Neighbors. It's just that I don't believe in our quarterback situation.
Vegas has him at 850 yards.
I think
850 yards. They think that's what his rookie over-under. That's what his over-under I heard from somebody is for Malik Neighbors. That is terrible.
I mean, that's not what you drafted number 6 overall to get anyway. That shouldn't even be the number that they're debating over. Look, that would have been probably, I didn't honestly expect to see Knicks come off the board at number 12, you know what I mean? Honestly, but
they picked their guy.
I think the way Denver saw how the draft was, to see the way the draft was coming down, things were playing out. I think they realized the writing was on the wall that Bo Nix was not going to reach, wasn't coming out of that, wasn't going to get to the second round, and they just came up and got him, man. They swooped up and
they already signed one.
Exactly. Atlanta signed Kirk Cousins. That still did not stop them from picking Michael Penix Jr. at number 8 overall. That was the big shocker of the first round. When that pick happened, that was the first like, whoa, you know what I mean? Like the whoa, Nelly. There was not a mock draft anywhere. It wasn't a mock draft anywhere that had Michael Penix Jr. going to the Atlanta Falcons at number 8 overall. Nowhere was that anywhere. There was people that was telling me, oh, you can get Michael Penix and Bo Nix in the second round. Get Malik Neighbors at number 6, and then just get Michael Penix and Bo Nix in the second round, all willy-nilly, like that really didn't have a chance at happening at all because they were all gone by pick number 12. They were all gone.
Yeah, the quarterback weren't picked again until like the 4th round, I think, or some shit.
Exactly. It was Spencer Rattler was the next quarterback pick. That was the 5th round, I think.
What a gap.
If I'm not mistaken. I mean, that tells you about the talent level of the quarterbacks in this draft, man. That's all that did. That just tells you the disparity from those top 6 guys to the rest of the guys. What people felt about those top 6 guys to the rest of the guys. You had one damn job last week, and was to get one of those 6 guys. 3 of them, nothing you can really do about it. Okay, 3 of them was gone. The first 3 obviously were gone. I mean, Caleb Williams, we know we never had a chance at that. Pretty much knew Jaden Daniels. We didn't have no shot at that either. And then Drake May, we were trying to wheel and deal and get our way up there. Couldn't make it happen. Okay. But then you still got 3 more guys to choose from. And I mean, I felt like all you had to do was pull the trigger, man. Pull the trigger, man. Because at this point, Daniel Jones is not the answer, man. He's not any solution. He's not any answer. There's no way you don't know that. I know that. If I know that, you have to know that as a GM, Joe Shane, Coach Brian Dable. Like, how do we want to just... And then on top of that, after the draft is over... What do we bring in for an undrafted rookie free agent? A fucking guy from Division 2 or something? Quarterback. That's what we do.
Come on. Give him credit. Division 3.
Oh, Division 3. Yeah, that's what we brought in.
I don't even know how to pronounce it in college. Waback or something like that. He's like the leading guy in Division 3 football history.
Look. Overall, it was still a pretty solid draft for the G-men, honestly. It was. Tyler Newman's a great pick in the second round, in my opinion. That definitely, hopefully, can address a big-time need over there at the safety position for the Giants. But, overall, it was a solid draft. They did do some good things in this draft. I'm not going to, be too upset about it other than the fact that the quarterback position was not addressed and there was an opportunity to address it. But, Adam, man... Oh, what's going on? This is my homie G, man. It's good, bro. Appreciate you stopping in, man. No doubt. But Adam, man, go ahead, man. What you gotta talk? What you gotta say?
I think I have to stand up for this one. I have to stand up for this one. So, this is how I look at it. Malik Neighbors, you're going to be a good guy. You really are. Going to be a great player. Hopefully for the Giants for a long time. Mind you, he did yell at Jaden Daniels, who was a Heisman Trophy winner. I wonder what's going to happen when Daniel Jones, who can't see the far side of a barn, doesn't hit him. But I digress. So all offseason, we heard the Giants don't like Daniel Jones. The Giants moving on to Daniel Jones. Injuries, blah, 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 blah. All this shit. You went to all different pro days. All the pro days. Every single one to come out on draft night to try to work a trade with New England, who you probably knew wasn't going to move off that pick anyways, to move up to get Drake May, who in your evaluations was a top guy. Yet, the Atlanta Falcons, who have Kirk Cousins, decided, you know what, Michael Penix Jr., who had 4,800 yards last year and was a Heisman runner-up and played one of the best football seasons that in recent memory, decided to pick him in the first round. So people, yes, they went up and tried to get Drake May. But then you have to base this Malik Neighbors pick against J.J. McCarthy, Bo Nix, and Michael Penix Jr. Because if one of those 3 guys that I just named is good and we're still struggling, Joe Shane, you're going to look like an idiot. You're going to look like a complete and utter fool. because you had J.J. McCarthy. You didn't even need to trade for the kid. You brought that kid out on Easter Sunday to go with him. And all of a sudden, you decide he's not good enough for you. Oh, well, we didn't have him ranked that high. Okay, well, neither did you have Daniel Jones ranked that high, but you still pulled the trigger that dumbass a few years ago. And now, this is why I call it a bad investment. This is why I'm so angry at Joe Shane and angry at what the Giants are doing. And as a fan, you should be angry because we know that we have a first-round quarterback problem. Our problem last year wasn't our fucking receiving core, who, by the way, got the Biletnikoff winner last year. Okay? And you had another SEC receiver in Wan'Dale Robinson. And mind you, Darius Slayton, you can go kick rocks now, bro. Your reps are gone. But now you're bringing in Malik Neighbors. So a guy in Malik Neighbors, what does he do? Well, it's a win-now move. Oh, no, it's not, Adam. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And Joe Shane comes out and says, oh, we have to have patience. Skeet, motherfucker. That's what I say to you, okay? Patience my ass. I've been waiting patiently for the last decade for you guys to figure out what the fuck is going on. You had a chance to pick a quarterback that landed in your fucking laps. 3 of them landed in your laps, and you decided to go with No-Neck Jones, a guy who can't even beat out Geno Smith and fucking Tommy Cutlets, who you benched during the year. And you let your best quarterback go to the fucking Jets and Tyrod Taylor. So now I'm supposed to believe you know what the fuck you're doing? Like, yeah, sure, great. Tyler Newman's great. Is he Xavier McKinney great? No, he's not. That Andres Miller guy that you got, the corner, he's 5'10", 192 pounds. I thought you already did this with fucking Cordell Flott. How many corners do we got? You know how many corners Joe Shane has drafted in 3 seasons? 7. That's 2 corners a year. 2 corners a year. You draft in the draft every year. You had an O-line problem. You didn't bring anybody in the pipeline. You decided, we don't need to draft a guy. Who cares about the O-line? Like, who gives a shit? And then not even a quarterback in the pipeline to develop. What are we doing? The 2 positions that you draft, either the least or the most, corner and then quarterback. Not one. And then you have the audacity to come out here and tell me to preach patience? You can kiss my butt cheeks, okay? Both of them. Because I am so pissed right now at you. Because if this team falls down the wayside, because I expect this, okay? And these are outlandish expectations, but I don't give a shit. If you're not in the NFC Championship game next year, everybody's fired. Everybody's fired. Some people get mad at me because I'm calling for heads. No, you know why I'm calling for heads? Because you're blatantly doing it wrong. You can't tell me that when you draft a receiver, that's not a win-now move. You can't tell me that is a fucking, a franchise mover. Because nobody really does that. You know who does that? Teams that have the luxury of having a quarterback. Like L.A. drafting Malik Neighbors, they have a quarterback. Arizona, did they draft a quarterback? No, why? Because they have one. So you know what they did? They said, you know what? We lost fucking DeAndre Hopkins. So let's get another fucking receiver for our quarterback. That's what they did. So if you're going to sit here and tell me that we have to preach patience, then I'm going to look it over there and I'm going to ask myself, what the fuck did Arizona do? Oh, and by the way, Xavier Leggett went in the first round. Keon Coleman was a good draft pick. You had draft picks littered all over the place to get a receiver. And yes, while Malik Neighbors is going to be good, the fact that Vegas has his number as 850 yards, are you kidding me? Top 6 pick, and he's going to have 850 yards. You know what? By the way, put this little nugget out there for people. He has a bet with Jaden Daniels, 10,000 G's. Who's going to be Rookie of the Year? Which means he's going to be a dog out there. Which means he's going to be a guy commanding the football. Because you think he wants to give up 10,000 yards of his little rookie-ass salary? No. He already didn't like Daniel Jones anyways. He called him Jaden Jones the first second he talked about him. So he don't like him. Kayvon Thibodeau already gave you his sentiment. But no, you decided to get a receiver for what? And then tell me to have patience? No, you paid a quarterback $160 million. You don't get patience. Okay? What you get is me being angry and expecting wins now. If you lose next season, you, Joe Shane, you can take your fat ass Brian Dable and your ball and go the fuck home. Because you're doing the same shit that Dave Gettleman does. You're doing the same shit as Dave Gettleman. Dave Gettleman drafted a guy number 2 overall. Did we forget what he was? Oh, Saquon Barkley. They had phone calls out the ass to move up and down the draft. Guess who had phone calls out the ass to move up and down the draft? Oh, Joe Shane. Joe Shane. You see all the other teams in your division fill out their roster on draft day with multiple second and third round picks, and you have a chance to get multiple second and third round picks, and you stay at 6 and keep the picks. The smart move is to trade back if you're not going quarterback. That's the smart move. You had the Jets calling you up. They wanted to move in the top 10. And we're still sitting here like this? Are you kidding me? It doesn't make any sense to me. Yeah, exactly. Exactly, Big Blue in the Bronx. The Giants got Brian Burns, Illuminor, and Runyon, and we're supposed to believe this is a rebuild? You had a chance to do it. You look at what the Chicago Bears did. They have a receiver. They got Keenan Allen. They got DJ Moore. Oh, by the way, they got Roma Dunze. Okay? Not to mention they have fucking defense that they spend a ton of money on. So don't tell me you can't build and have a rookie quarterback. They have now their rookie quarterback under 5 years ready to go. The Commanders just showed you what to do. The Cowboys have been good for 8 years with Dak Prescott. And now we have another nuisance in our side with Jalen Hurst and the Cowboys and the Eagles. And, if you look down the division, who's going to look at our quarterback room and say, oh, that's a winning quarterback room? Daniel Jones, Drew Lock, Tommy DeVito.
No one.
I mean, are you kidding me? The reason why we're not going to have advantage in games, it sucks because.
Let me tell you I bet you can put down. I bet you can put down, man. I don't know. This is crazy. I saw this the other day somewhere, and unless my eyes were deceiving me. If you put a little weight down, Daniel Jones winning the league MVP this year, it's like the odds are like 150,000 to 1, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was something to that extreme.
Put $1 on there.
So you put a couple. Put $1. Yeah, exactly, absolutely. So as if Daniel Jones actually could turn it around and actually show us something. But that's exactly the confidence people have in Daniel Jones, though.
Oh, but let me break this down. Let me give you a little preview of what's coming to town. Okay, so Joe Shane decided to tell the world, be patient with Daniel Jones because we paid him. Okay, but that guy is one neck injury away from never playing football again. And you know who we have coming in this year, Mac? The AFC North. Let me think about this for a second. Let me go down this way. Who does the AFC North have? Oh, the Cleveland Browns, who have a Super Bowl caliber defense, who break quarterbacks in half. Who led the league in sacks this year? Oh, wasn't it an AFC North team? Oh, it was. It was the Ravens. And not to mention, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers have T.J. Watt on their team and just retooled to the quarterback. And one more thing. There's one more team. Oh, the Cincinnati Bengals. Okay? These 4 teams alone are going to look at you and laugh in your face, say, we're not going to get our shit pushed in by this motherfucker. Okay? Daniel Jones, who has one leg, who can't even run, they're not going to get their shit pushed in. Giants, this is my mandate to you. You better fucking win. And you better fucking win a lot. Because if you think that drafting a receiver has put an end to me on quarterback island, you have another thing coming. All it did was, yes, it kicked me down. I was mad. I knew the receipts were coming. I was upset. I did. But guess what? I've come through the rubble, and I'm ready to go. And I'm ready to lock horns. So, Joe Shane, this is for you. Bullseyes on your back. If this fails, you need to be out the door with everybody else, because this was a dumb move and a dumb decision. You have nobody in the pipeline with a guy who's an injury risk. When's the last season Daniel Jones has been injured? Never been injured. Not one season has he not been injured. What are we doing?
Look, at this point, here's where I'm gonna put it at right here with Joe Shane, because this is how strongly I feel about the quarterback situation in the draft. If Bo Nix and J.J. McCarthy have any real true impact, I think those two are more likely. Well, Penix, yeah, but Penix got Kirk Cousins in front of him, and I think Kirk Cousins is a legit starter, and I think, barring injury, he's gonna. I don't think Penix is really getting on the field too much in Atlanta, at least not this year. But I do think J.J. McCarthy with only Sam Darnold in front of him, and Bo Nix obviously with nobody. I don't know what's going on in Denver's quarterback room.
Jared Stidham.
So these guys actually have a chance to make an impact this season as rookies for their respective teams. If these guys go out there and look as competent as we believe they can be, the prospects that they were, it's going to be a bad look, Joe Shane, because you had him staring. You had him right there, man, dead to rights. You had your chew. You had your pick. You had your pick up. And if these guys just go out there and really do the damn, and like I said, they're not just have to go out there and we're not looking for C.J. Stroud 2.0 this year. I mean, you can't expect that every year from rookie quarterbacks. But just go out there and be competent and still look the part and look like they're going to be guys, that can that have bright futures. Then Joe Shane, like I said, it's going to be a scar, man. Because especially if Daniel Jones continues to look like the Daniel Jones that he's looked like. Throwing passes at guys' feet. I mean, check down Charlie, scared to throw the ball down the field. Like, you can't, this offense has to open up. And Jones got to grow his balls back, man, because his rookie season, man, he was, look, it might have been ugly with the turnovers, but he was not scared to chuck that ball down the field, throw the ball over the damn yard. Now all of a sudden, man, it's just progressively gotten worse with this kid, man. It's absolutely gotten worse to the point where now he's just gun shy, man. Like he's scared to make a mistake, yet he's making them anyway. Still making them, and it's look. Let me move aside for a minute. To me, I'm disappointed because I think we had a real opportunity here, and I think we really blew it. But with that being said, man, I think we did have a tremendous talent in Malik Neighbors, and hopefully things do work out, whether it's Daniel Jones, whether it's Drew Lock, whether it's Tommy DeVito, whether it's somebody that's not even here yet that could come out of nowhere and mess around and still beat out everybody in this quarterback room.
No one's beating out Daniel Jones until he's able
whoever it is, whoever the guy is, man, hopefully they can get the most out of this young man because I think Malik Neighbors is a tremendous talent. And the Theo Johnson pick tight end for Penn State, that was a decent pick. I think not enough people were talking about that.
I liked him.
That was a pretty decent, solid.
But do you think he's going to have an impact like Waller? You think he's going to be Waller? No. He's going to probably have at max. Well, no. I think maybe Waller number is 500 yards, a touchdown or two. Like nothing earth-shattering. But again, look, man, I don't know, man. I'm so disappointed. I honestly, this is going to sound shitty. I wanted to crash and burn because if it crashes and burns next year and we're in the second pick and there's a quarterback there, there's no way they can move off. There's no way. They have to pick them, right? This year, they weren't in the top three. If they were in the top three, they would get rid of Daniel Jones. And the one thing I want to say that people are forgetting is, and I brought this up earlier on a space, and people said, who cares about feelings? But Daniel Jones doesn't live under a rock, okay? He has an agent. He has social media. I'm sure he has a TV in his house. The guy looks like he has a TV. Even though he looks like a scrub when he dresses. he does have a TV. Oh, what are you getting at, Adam? My point is, he probably heard all the rumors for the last 3 months about you trying to get his replacement. And now, because you couldn't get his replacement, you're turning around and going, hey, Daniel, I think we kind of maybe need you. Like Joe Shane texting Daniel Jones. Everyone's like, oh, yeah, it's great. I'm like, yo, it's probably a group text to all the quarterbacks saying, we got Malik Neighbors and Jones was the only loser because he's not doing anything. The text back like, yay, right? And then Jones comes and Shane's like, he was fired up about it. Like, you just wanted to trade that guy 5 minutes ago. And now you want me to believe that he's your guy? Give me a break. Your actions don't speak like your words, and your actions speak even worse. And the fact that you're saying to the fan base not to have expectations, well, I'm going to have expectations because I know what the Giants do when they don't have expectations. They tend to win. Now, I don't think they're going to because their schedule's hard and their quarterback is going to be – you're going to see what I'm talking about with your quarterback. Everyone's talking about this defensive coordinator like he's the next greatest thing. His defense last year was middle of the road. They had like one category where they were good, and that was the red zone. Everything else, they were middle of the pack, okay? They just were. I'm not trying to, boo-boo on his defense. That's what they were. They don't have a guy next to Dexter Lawrence. Teams are going to run the football all day on us. We don't have a fucking second corner worth a damn. Okay? And Nick McLeod is good. He's a solid player, but let's be real. We have nobody past that guy. If Deontay Banks blows out a knee, who's coming in? Who's coming in? You going to trust the third-round pick that we got? I don't. He wasn't even the best on the board.
which seemed to be a bit of a reach at the time. There was better guys on the board still, so I'm really
Exactly.
curious what they saw in this young man. But there's one last thing. I mean, not to keep just completely just shitting on Daniel Jones, but here's
Well, let's
my
do it.
big thing.
Let's do it.
And with Daniel, it's to me like, okay, it's 5 years in. He's had, you've seen him, you know what he is.
He's a wiener.
You telling me this guy that deserves to walk into an NFL training camp anointed the starting quarterback? He's earned that right. I mean, I say that honestly. Can you honestly tell me this guy is a guy that's earned the right to walk into a training camp, anointed the starting quarterback position? Like, that's it. You're the guy because you're so great. Everything you've done these last 5 years, you're amazing, kid. You're the guy. We're not. Nobody's. It's you. As long as you're healthy, it's you. Like, he hasn't earned that. That's what bothers me about this whole shit too. Like, I don't care about fuck the contract. There's been bad contract. Like I said, Seattle gave that fucking dude Flynn that bad contract, and what happened? 3rd-round draft pick Russell Wilson beat his ass out. So what did they do? Contract or not, they sat his ass down on the bench for the rookie Russell Wilson. So I don't want to hear about the contract shit. Daniel Jones has not earned the right to walk into training camp as the starting quarterback without anyone really just being named the starter. It should be a wide open competition. It should just be wide open, period. Wherever quarterbacks are in camp, it's wide open. Whoever's the best one will be the starter, period. Not just Daniel Jones, you're the guy because you've been so great these last 5 years that you're just the guy. Give me a break, man. But yet you got a guy like, but you got a guy like Justin Fields that's now having to be relegated to being a backup quarterback. I'm sorry, that's a better talent than Daniel Jones, and he's just a backup quarterback. Give me a break, man. I'm sorry. That's it. That's all I got to say about Daniel Jones, man. That's all I got to say about the whole New York Giants situation for right now, man. Adam, you got any final thoughts before we get ready to wrap things up, man?
Fuck you, New York Giants. That's what I have to say to you. Fuck you. Okay? Because that patience thing is what you're saying to your fan base. We don't care about winning. We're sorry. No. You can't pull the wool over this guy's eyes. You build a team that you got stars on. Go out there and prove us wrong. Go win the division. And I'm going to say this. I'm not rooting for Daniel Jones. Call me a hater all you want. My quarterback is, that's right, lock it in. Drew Lock. We're locking it in with Drew Lock. Let's ride, baby. He's got go watch his videos. He only has like 2 highlights, but he's got that song with I forget who it is. The guy who sings "Put On for My City." I forget who his name is, but he's rapping that song. He's like "Put On."
Jeezy, young Jeezy.
Right, yeah, right. He's rapping. He's doing all the things. He's got swagger. People are going to gravitate towards him. Not Daniel Jones being a dork on stage with fucking country singers. He's not going to. They're not going to. He has swagger. I want him. I want a legit competition, like Max says. Give me a legit competition. Give me a chance to see somebody else other than that. And there's been a rumor that Drew Lock is in line to compete for the job. Multiple people have said it. Jeremiah said it. Mike Garofalo said it. Ian Rappaport said it. So there is some smoke to this
It
fire.
needs to be that way.
And it needs to be, because they keep saying to me that Drew Lock wasn't brought in here to be a starter. Yet Dan Duggan, who got to give Dan Duggan some credit, he does some good work. He digs. He's an actual reporter and reports what he sees and not blows the team for what it's not. He said there's incentives for an extra $3 million in Drew Lock's contract. So he can make a total of $8 million. You don't think that guy wants that $3 million? That's like saying, hey, Mac, there's an incentive in your contract to double your salary if you hit certain marks on days of the week, time in, and all this stuff. Are you going to try to miss a day? Are you going to try to miss a day to not get that bonus money? You're going to try to do whatever it takes, right? If you're whatever your salary is now, right, and they're going to give you a year's salary if you hit these marks as your bonus, right? Well, they'll break it down. They'll give you a portion of your salary if you hit this. They'll give you 50% of your salary if you hit this. And if you're there all day for a whole year and don't miss a day minus a vacation, boom, you get your whole salary or something like that, right? You would be like, oh shit, I'm not. You're coming in when you're sick. You'll come in. You'll fucking fuck that vacation. You know what I mean. You'll do whatever it takes to get there. You don't think Drew Lock heard that on the phone? Say, hey man, we got this contract that we want to have out with you. And he's like, I want to come and be a starter or a chance to start. Okay, fine, but Daniel might be the guy. You're gonna have to be in competition with him. Okay, great. You know why Russell Wilson doesn't come here? Because he's like, I ain't in no competition. I'm Russell fucking Wilson. Okay, I don't need to compete with a guy who stinks. So Drew Lock, you're here. You got a fan in me. Okay, and I'm going to take, and not for nothing, if you're looking at the draft picks, who's the quarterback on the team that gives the offense a better chance to function? Drew Lock. If you're bringing him in Malik Neighbors, everyone keeps telling me this guy runs slants. He's going to be Tyreek Hill. Well, you can't keep running slants all the time, especially with a guy that elusive. I want to get downfield. That guy you want to get explosive plays to. Who has the bigger arm, Daniel or Drew? Drew does. Who looks like Drake May and similar to the quarterback that they're looking for? Drew Lock. Who do they bring in here and gave incentives in his contract for 2,200 yards? You can get this many Drew Lock because they know that their guys they're either done with Daniel Jones or they know he's going to get injured. My point is the optics are there for them to not like Daniel. I know the team doesn't like Daniel. I wouldn't be surprised if they kind of push him out with Drew Lock if Drew Lock comes out and wins games. Because I guarantee you this. If this team is struggling and they're 0-4, 2-6, 3-9 or some shit, you better believe we're going to pound the table for Drew Lock and just try to get something. As a matter of fact, actually, I wouldn't pound the table for Drew Lock. I'd be like, don't play anybody. Play a running back at quarterback because at that point, I know the wheels are going to fall off. And everyone keeps telling me that Brian Dable is safe. If they have a 5-12 season or some shit, his ass is not safe. Even if they have an 8-9 season, his ass is not safe. But I'm done talking about this team. I'm very disappointed in the result. I know Malik Neighbors. I'm going to be like, yay, touchdowns, woohoo! And then when we lose the game 14-21, we're really going to be like, I'm glad we got that Malik Neighbors pick, and it's 100 yards again. Because I look at it like this. My last thing about Malik Neighbors, you look at these great receivers around us. Garrett Wilson in New York, Drake London in Atlanta. What did they do when their quarterbacks were bad? They weren't the impactful. Yes, Garrett Wilson won Rookie of the Year, but he had Mike White in a few games throwing him the football, which kind of won him that title. The second year with the same kind of quarterback, his play dipped and he was an afterthought. Drake London's been in the league 2 years. You wouldn't even know that he's on the Atlanta Falcons because he doesn't get anything, right? So now Malik Neighbors is supposed to come in here and be a superstar with a quarterback who doesn't see downfield. Good luck with that, bro. Enjoy that shit.
Yep. Can't say it any better than myself, brother. That was just it. That's the icing on the cake, man. And that is, our recap of the draft and everything else. Some of the moves, the past week that's been made amongst these 4 football teams. But do want to appreciate the 19 viewers right now through Twitter, YouTube, Facebook right now. Appreciate y'all in the chat. No Mets, no Nets, no Jets. Appreciate you as always, man. Always coming through, keeping the chat alive, man. Always a big time supporter. Definitely appreciate you. Alex, Big Blue in the Bronx, man. Always coming through, showing some love. Definitely appreciate you.
And did you see his reaction video?
Man, definitely appreciate you stopping in. Absolutely, man. Wells, appreciate Wells coming through, man. And Daniel Barry, as always, and my guy DJ Philly B, man, the one and only, man. Definitely appreciate y'all all stopping through, hanging out with me and Adam, man, for this past been about an hour, 18 minutes here. But we get ready to take off for the night, man, and get back to our regular lives as scheduled. Hopefully we'll be back next week with y'all for your next week with the NFL schedule release. Hopefully that should be dropping next week. It usually comes out, if everything stays the way it normally does, it should be coming out next week by my calculations. And it'll probably be a Thursday show, man. Me and Adam coming on here talking about it, like we always do, breaking down games, making some predictions. I ain't gonna be quite as bold as I was a year ago. I'm gonna let you know that right now. New York Giants, you got the show improve, man. You got You got to show and prove. You got to prove it to me, bro. I'm not just taking y'all word for it no more. I ain't drinking that Kool-Aid.
Well,
I
you
am
can be
not
patient,
drinking
Mac.
that Kool-Aid.
So you may not be wrong.
So we'll definitely be back, though. We'll be back talking about that schedule, man. I think I'm pretty sure it'll be next week, man. And we'll see y'all there, man. But for now, man, I'm Mac the Giants fan, and that's my guy, Adel Costas, man. I'd like to thank you all for listening. If you was feeling this, please take time to subscribe and smack them likes. Feel free to drop a comment and let me know what you think. Don't forget to ring that bell so you know when I'm dropping new content. It's your boy, Mac the Giants fan. You can find me on Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook at Mac the Giants fan. That's MacDa Giants fan.